Welcome to COMPSTAT Review, another episode. With me today again, Andrew Robinson, our crime analyst, and as well as our special investigator, David Adamczyk. You don't have to mess with him.
Chief's got jokes.
Until we get comfortable here.
Good evening,
yeah.
to you both.
Yep, so I know, everybody's talking about the new logo, and obviously, let's address the logo in the room. And as you can see, this logo, I think, also represents the city of Hamtramck and the Hamtramck Police Department. And its colors as well as its emblem.
And a lot of people with Chief, we're comical, right? Andrew said they're like, oh, Chief came from NYPD, looks like NYPD. But actually, a lot of these people don't realize these are actually the city's emblem colors. And if they look at the Hamtramck city flag, the dark blue, the light blue, the yellow are the predominant colors in our own Hamtramck flag that's been there for several years, way before anybody thought of Chief El-Taheri. And if you look at it, the light blue is actually even on our scout cars.
Yes, correct. So we made sure, but obviously this was wasn't just my decision. Obviously, I wanted to change the logo and the patch, but working with Dave Adamczyk as well as Faye, who was the union leader at that time, and we came up with the best design, and this was it right here in front of you. And I think we could show them maybe the city of the flag of Hamtramck.
Yeah, actually, if you look on the screen, it's actually on the lower part of the screen. So you take a look at that. You can see how the city flag is then highlighted within this new shield that the chief put out. That, as we were discussing, kind of gives more credit and respect to the actual city emblem, like most police departments have. A lot of people, some people have put online, the state of Michigan shield. Well, we're not MSP. We're not Michigan State Police, right? Even though we respect all the departments, we respect the Michigan State Police, but with respect to Hamtramck, it's time to truly give respect to the city that we work and live in. So
Increasingly, other departments are also moving more to the shield logo, so Hamtramck has now moved that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So COMPSTAT, we've got some numbers. Numbers are great this week. We see some targeted areas that the officers have been working on, and they're, I think, reflective in the last week's numbers. So
yeah, I'll start it off. For homicides and murders, we're zero across the board, 0 versus 1 compared to last year. We look at our rapes, criminal sexual conduct, we're 0 across the board for the week to date and 28-day, and we're 6 versus 10, down 40%. For robberies, we're 1 versus 1.
So no change?
Yep. And then for 20 days as well, 2 versus 2. And for the year to date, we're 22 versus 30, so we're down 26.67%.
This week's robbery was a strong-arm robbery. It was perpetrated by 2 unknown suspects in the area of Cherist and Casimir. Video has been obtained. Our detectives are working hard trying to solve that. And it was a snatch and grab of a phone with a little bit of force. So I would, again, like to remind everyone to be aware of your surroundings. Don't hold your expensive, necessarily be playing with your expensive phone and not paying attention to what's going on.
We were almost there, Andrew. We were almost there. We've been telling everybody, put the phones away, put the money away. We're 1 versus 1. Let's do it. We're gonna tell them again. Hopefully, in the next 10 days, we're gonna be 0 versus 0 for a 7-day period. So put the phones away, put the money away, and hopefully people get it, and hopefully we can get a 0 versus 0 for a 7-day.
And our officers will continue their increased presence. We have figured out where some of our strong arms the last couple of weeks have been occurring, and I've spoken with the detective sergeant, and he has instructed his detectives as well as the road patrol on where to target for that area and those particular suspects. So
yeah, I know when the chief put out, Rob George is overseeing that detective bureau now, and I think it's making some great strides. And a lot of improvements that he did. Rob's got a plethora of background, specifically in investigations, and I think there's a lot of things that are going to be beneficial to the community, not only the department, and especially the detectives that moving forward with that.
Yeah, just to touch on Sergeant Robert George, just recently we gave him additional responsibilities. He'll be taking the lead of the Detective Bureau since our Lieutenant Commander won't be here for quite some time. But we're very confident in Sergeant Robert George, who has an investigative background. I believe he's the only person on the second floor that has the qualifications as well as the training to lead our detectives. So we're proud of his work, and we hope that he'll advance and hopefully be an asset to the Detective Bureau going forward, and we'll see a lot of cases.
I think so.
Detective George is definitely a vast
Detective Sergeant.
Detective Sergeant George
Come
is
on,
definitely
right.
a vast repository of knowledge. And anytime, like I said, I've gone to him many times throughout the years for additional help, and he's always there to provide it. So
There you go. Felonious assaults.
All right, 2 versus 3. We're down 33% compared to, if you looked at last week, we had a significant increase, and we see that in the 28 days reflective of that. 12 versus 7.
And again, most of those that we talked last week were really surrounded around kids, juveniles that were making these things. So we saw a little spike. I don't know if it was something in the air or whatever, but now that we see this week, we're kind of trending back to our normal numbers. And we see, 7 days down 33. The 28 day was up because of last week, but we're still not doing that bad at only 14% for the year.
both of our FAs this week were domestic situations. One in the area of the Oklahoma Circle Drive and another in the area of Trowbridge and Buffalo. I'm happy to report both resulted in arrests and both are pending prosecution. So
there you go. So again, we said most of these, like we saw before last week, that we said most of the children that had done these were from known people, and like you said, the domestics. So again, they obviously know the victim, and at this point here, it's not like people are alarmed where you're just walking down a street or an alley and you're worried about this. These are all known associates.
This week, absolutely.
Yeah. Burglaries.
Oh, well, we're 0 versus 0 for the week today, 1 versus 5, down 80%. And we look at the year today, we're 51 versus 63, and we're down 19%.
And we're saying we're 0-0, but down 80% for the 28, and now still trending down. And on the burglary side, we've been talking about there are some specific efforts made by our detective bureau that had, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours that are going to be coming out in a press release in the not too distant future. That is the reason why our numbers spiked, and they will be very proud. I know we're kind of talking very, very clandestine, but they will be very proud of those results, and some of this may even make southeastern Michigan newsworthy information. So it's really good that our department spearheaded. So
as it should. I'm excited for all of you to be able to hear what we've been sort of teasing for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Now we're really dangling it out there. So, no, it's just great numbers and larcenies. Go ahead, Chief.
2 versus 0, and then for the 20 day, we're 2 versus 4, and we're
down 50%.
Yeah, we're slightly up for the year today, 17 versus 14, 21%.
Both of our larcenies, one was committed in the area of Edwin and Brombeck by a known suspect, and that one is pending investigation. Our other was in the area of McDougal and Comer, initially perpetrated by an unknown suspect. However, I'm happy to report that in the short amount of time since I initially took my notes to now, that case has been solved and that suspect has been arrested, and you guys will be hearing about that as well a little bit more soon too.
Is that the same assault that involved the church?
That was the larceny. Yeah, absolutely.
So, we can highlight that. I think one of our officers named Officer Ida Hussein actually apprehended this individual. We actually wanted to go back to the church, which we will do, and I think they lost about $60. Our members of our department want to actually donate back some of that money to the church. So that tells you a little example of how police and community work together, and also cops care.
And Ida, Ida Hussein, who came on the department, we're going to talk about Ida for a minute. I mean, Ida is still on probation. She just got off her field training operations here just within a month or so ago, and recent graduate of the academy. So, I mean, she's still less than 12 months on the job as an officer, but, listened to the detectives, saw the BOL, the be on the lookout for the information that the detectives had sent out, kind of knew the known area of where this person may be, took it upon herself and kind of staked it out a little bit on patrol. And, hats off to Ida. She did a great job in calling it out, got some backup and got this person off the street. So it's a great job to her.
Absolutely. And also to highlight, Ida, Officer Hussein, was one of our civilian employees prior to attending the police academy.
Yeah, she was a dispatcher for how many years?
She was a dispatcher for several years, and then she moved up to the Records Bureau, and now she's a police officer and out there doing great work.
Yeah, she's great. And I know I've worked with her on the road. She does a great job, and having she's Bengali and speaks fluent Bengali. It's awesome having her on the road. So.
We will move on to our auto theft now. 1 for 1 for the 7 day. In the 28-day, we're still up 13 versus 6, 116.67% increase. And year-to-date, we're still down 130 to 144, a decrease of 9.72%.
But Andrew, on those numbers, being that we're still down 9% annually, I did have a conversation just 2 days ago with Sergeant Jokai, who is our business relations supervisor. He was recently transferred to Midnights, and he informed me that he wanted to watch these numbers, and I think this week and last week are definite results of Sergeant Jokai being on Midnights. He is targeting specific areas of auto thefts, where they take place and where they're happening, and I think we're starting to see some of these numbers. Some of the technology that the department has access to, along with his strategic part. He knows this city better than anybody with the businesses and things like that. He's a former detective and things like that give this credence to some of these numbers. I know the members and city council have spoken with the chief and our city manager relative to auto thefts, and starting to see numbers drastically changing the last 2 weeks. I think hats off to Luigi and the Midnight crew for this.
Absolutely. Our stolen vehicle this week, I believe, was in the area of Dorothy and Dwyer. Is that what it was?
I think
it was on Dorothy between Conant and Dwyer. And that was you have the sheet in front of you, Dave, but I know it was a newer model Dodge.
It was.
Correct?
Yeah, and we had talked last week that the Dodges were a hot topic. It is. It's a Dodge Challenger 2016. Unknown suspects. It has not been recovered yet, which is odd because a lot of times those Challengers are used in another crime and things like that. This one has not been recovered yet. So, but yes, on Dorothy between Conant and Dwyer, a lot of the residents are wanting to know where these are taking place. But it's odd that a 16 Challenger still hasn't been recovered, but in due time.
Absolutely. For our totals, we are week to date 6 to 5, an increase of 20%. 28-day, we are 30 versus 24, a 25% increase. But year to date, we are 315 to 340, a 7.35% decrease. So still trending down overall.
When again, many departments are trending up.
Correct. To move on to our traffic statistics, for traffic fatalities, we're 0 across the board for week to date and 28-day, and still 1 for 1 in year to date.
Which is really where our department really stands normally in fatalities, being 2.2 square miles and having these numbers. I know that one was a very, tragic crash, but at this point here, it's glad that we're trending as our norm, really. So.
To move on to traffic crashes, we are down for week to date 7 versus 12, a decrease of 41.67%. In the 28-day, we are 48 versus 31. We're up 54.84%. And year to date, we are still down 425 to 455, down 6.59%. For this week, if you'll look up on the screen, you will see that we've put up the 28-day traffic crash map that I went ahead and one of the things that we looked at to try to pinpoint some of our troubled locations. And there was only really 3 locations in the 28 days that were an area of intense concern, and that was Joseph Campo and Holbrook. As we know, that's a very busy intersection. We'll also look at Lumpkin and Kniff, and then also the 3 crashes right in a row surrounding the high school. But as they look, so I know we have the map up on the screen for them to see, but as we look at this map, we're seeing some common denominators with that map. We see that, obviously Conant, our major thoroughfares are Conant to the north and south. We have Holbrook on the south end, east and west. We do see along Kniff, basically the surrounding areas around those major thoroughfares are we're seeing the bulk of the traffic, which is natural. And we know that the crashes are down. The chief instituted the traffic program with Sergeant Fidenis that is running that unit. And I know the officers on the road and Sergeant are definitely paying attention to these areas and strategically working these areas, which is, helping control traffic. I know we said last week and the week before that a lot of these crashes are mainly happening from youth and distracted driving. And so when we look at that, a lot of this increased patrol that has been by the request of a lot of residents and council to pay attention to this, I think we're starting to see some, again, downward trending numbers. Which is excellent, especially compared to last week where we were up pretty significant.
It was. I think, like I said, these kids have these sports cars, and they're starting to, they want to showboat and things like that, and we just got to kind of rein them in a little bit. So.
Yeah, we see the numbers there, and look forward to bringing that. Also, Sergeant Michael Fidelis actually stopped someone today and actually recovered an illegal loaded firearm.
Yeah.
So it's just another example of how our officers put their lives on the line for the safety of all of us. So
Yeah.
good job for Sergeant Fidelis.
Yeah, it was a good stop, and I know, following up, Chief, the one thing that we wanted to talk about and touch base. I think next week we're going to be starting to advertise, but we're going to talk about this week the Citizen Academy that is coming just after the holidays. So everybody stay tuned and look out for that. There's going to be an application to apply for. It's everyone that is at least 18 years of age and older. It's going to give you the kind of real life deep dive look into the Hamtramck Police Department and really what a police officer may go through. There's a lot of activities that are there for this group. It's going to be a 6-week program, one day during the week, mainly in the evening hours, so that if you want to go after work or maybe before a midnight shift, it's a 3-hour period for 6 weeks that will be able to have this information. But there's a lot of engagement, and we'll have more information coming out in the next week.
Sounds good.
Forward to it. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for tuning in this week, and we've got, what's the saying, Chief?
We are here to keep you safe.
It's what we do.
See you next week.